Earth is the element of substance. The people of the Earth Kingdom are diverse and strong. They are persistent and enduring.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Reggie here, back with you for another video. And finally, people, it's about damn time. We have finally reached part 4 of my Avatar The Last Airbending series about which are the best bendings. So just to shortly recap, we went from number 4, airbending, to number 3, firebending, to number 2, and this was a huge debate within y'all, waterbending. And finally, we have reached what I think is the number 1 best bending element, and that is earthbending. So just like my previous videos, we're gonna have a short overview of earthbending and earthbenders, as well as a little insight into the Earth Kingdom, followed by going through some of the strengths and weaknesses of earthbending, and then finally why I think earthbending is the number 1 best element. So to begin, I feel like I gotta be honest with y'all. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I ain't gonna hold you. The reason why I think earthbending, or at least one of the reasons why I think earthbending is the coolest element, is because of this girl right here. Toph Beifong is by far one of the coolest characters in all of Avatar, and I think I can make a pretty good case how Toph is probably the most gifted prodigy throughout the entire Avatar series besides Aang. Toph is so dope that there are a number of occasions where she quite literally saved Team Avatar's lives, and I could definitely say that if she wasn't around, they would have died multiple times. But beyond her just saving Team Avatar's lives a number of times, can we talk about how the Earth Kingdom pretty much saved the entire world? Yeah, I know. Some of y'all are like, what? What are you talking about, Reggie? The Earth Kingdom didn't save the entire world. Aang did. And you may be right, but I would argue without the Earth Kingdom, Aang wouldn't have had a world to save. So let's look at this for a second. The Earth Kingdom is the largest nation in the entire Avatar world. The Earth Kingdom was also the main fighting force against the Fire Nation. A fighting force that, let me remind you, survived 100 years of fighting the Fire Nation without the Avatar present. So let's just look at the facts. The Fire Nation took out all 4 Air Nation temples. Then the Fire Nation pretty much wiped out the Southern Water Tribe. When we see the Southern Water Tribe in the first episode, we pretty much see a collection of huts and maybe a handful of people, and most of them were children. The men from the Southern Water Tribe pretty much left the village to go help the Earth Kingdom fight the Fire Nation. But even when we see the Southern Water Tribe fighters, it's only a small army at best. While the Northern Water Tribe was definitely able to hold back the Fire Nation for the past 100 years, but they essentially secluded themselves away from the war. They were essentially a non-factor for the last 100 years. So when you really think about it, it wasn't the Fire Nation waging an attack against the world. It was the Fire Nation waging an attack against the Earth Kingdom, and the Earth Kingdom was able to hold them back for 100 years until Aang came back. The Earth Kingdom deserves huge praise for helping Aang and the team win the war. And that's where we can start off. Earth is called the element of substance. People of the Earth Kingdom are strong, persistent, and enduring. And when we look at all of these facts, we can see that. So now that we did a quick overview of the Earth Kingdom, let's take a look at some of their strengths. So we can start off with this. Earth is definitely the element of defense. With Earth being the most stable element, we have seen plenty of examples of people putting up Earth shields and then using those shields for attack. But with Earth being the best element for defense, it is also probably the second best with offensive capabilities. Being behind firebending, which is definitely number 1 when it comes to offense, earthbending is definitely number 2. The amount of damage an earthbender is able to deal with their element is crazy, and honestly I think sometimes underrated, because these people are literally lifting 1-ton boulders and then just chucking it at you. Now, although in the first depictions of earthbending that we see in Avatar, I can admit that it was very similar when it came to firebending. And what I mean by that is earthbending was pretty one note. We even see examples in season 2 during the episode with the drill. The earthbending general individuals were literally just taking rocks and throwing it at a super industrial sized, super massive drill meant to dig its way into Ba Sing Se. But although I think earthbending was used pretty simplistically early on, it kind of adheres to one of their strengths as well. And that's the fact that their element is everywhere. Although the world is about 70% water, most people live on land. So your element and what you're able to do with it is pretty much everywhere. So being able to just lift numerous amounts of rocks and just throw it at people wouldn't be such a bad thing. You have so much of it that you can throw. Early on in Avatar, unless you were pretty much on a boat surrounded by water, or at least on an iron prison, you pretty much had earth element to bend all around you at all times, night and day. But now let's go into my favorite parts about earthbending. Like I said, I think earthbending was pretty simplistic early on, but as the series goes on, we get to see how much progression earthbending has. And I can tell you that is definitely, for me, one of the reasons why it ranks #1 is because of the different subsets of earthbending. So let's start off with some of the basics. You have #1, the general earthbending, which again is #1 in defense and then probably #2 when it comes to offense. Then you have sandbending, which sandbending I thought was actually pretty cool. So now with sandbending kind of turns you into a waterbender where you have a lot of malleability with your element. Sandbenders have such creativity when it comes to this. They're able to create small earth tornadoes to be able to travel around the desert with. The possibilities when it comes to sandbending is honestly so massive that it's hard for me to even name all the things that they would possibly be able to do. And it's a shame that we only really got to see sandbenders for a small part of Avatar. If you think of Gara and all the things he was able to do with sand, and think about what sandbenders would be able to do, possibly to the same extent, if not more, it'd be crazy to believe what an accomplished sandbender is capable of. But then, finally, people, we come to everybody's favorite. We come to metal bending, created by our very own Toph Beifong. When Toph created metal bending, it was single-handedly one of the coolest things I have ever seen. There was a moment in Avatar where Toph was so gangster, she became Iron Man. My girl created an entire suit out of metal just to punch somebody in the face. Then by the time we get to the Legend of Korra, we realize that there's an entire police force full of metal benders and an entire city dedicated to the art of metal bending. Zaofu, let me remind you, is the most advanced city in the world at this point, where they're able to use metal not even just for fighting. They use it for sport, therapy, dance, and art performances. Metal bending started to evolve not even as a martial art, but as everyday life. And as society and as technology begins to grow, when you think about the limitless potential of metal bending, it's crazy to even imagine. With the aspects of metal bending, you made the earthbender strengths even greater than they already was, and then also limited some of their weaknesses by an extreme degree. #1, with the aspect of metal bending, you improved their attack capabilities, just with how dangerous someone coming at you with a metal spear is. And then beyond that, you also increased their defensive capabilities with being able to use metal as a shield. Then with the flexibility that metal gives you, it's pretty much everything with sandbending, but to the 10th degree. And as the Avatar world advances, the amount of things you'd be able to do with metal is crazy. But no, oh no, it doesn't stop there. You think it's gonna stop at metal bending? Now we have lava bending. Lava bending is pretty much a phase change when it comes to the earth element. Just like ice is to water bending, now you have lava to earth bending. So now you have an earthbender gets the added destructive capabilities of a firebender, and even potentially more dangerous, to such a degree that we have seen a lava bender be able to take down the walls of Ba Sing Se, when the Fire Nation created a giant fuck-off drill where they were able to just penetrate the walls of Ba Sing Se just for a moment. One lava bender was able to take down the walls of Ba Sing Se with ease. But just to add insult to injury, not only do we have two of the most dangerous and creative subsets in all of Avatar, we even have other subsets when it comes to earthbending, such as mud bending, where Toph was literally kicking Korra's ass as like a 90-year-old woman, and we even have crystal bending, where even if a little bit gets on you, it starts to grow uncontrollably to your death. And earthbenders are so gangster, they eat it as candy. An accomplished earthbender has so many different things that they can get into. The only way to stop one is to essentially put them on a wooden prison in the middle of the ocean with 24/7 guards, where you can't put them within a mile of any rock, stone, or metal. And finally, just to get to maybe the last aspect of why earthbending is so cool, we have an earthbending technique that was created by Toph Beifong herself, or should I say another technique created by Toph Beifong herself, which is relegated to the Beifong family, and that is the seismic sense. With earthbending, you're able to feel the vibrations in the ground, which basically gives you a sixth sense, so you can feel all of the things that are happening around you. You can even feel if someone is lying. Earthbending is number one, by far, not even close, the element that shows the greatest progression in Avatar. It's crazy how water is called the element of change when earthbending changes so damn much. Now, I'm not even gonna hold you. Trying to list off some of the weaknesses of earthbending is probably the hardest part of this video, because honestly, as earthbending grows, if you're able to master all of these subsets, or even some pieces of some of these subsets, you're able to be a whole new level of bender. But this video's already long enough, so I'm gonna have to save the weaknesses and the overall aspects of earthbending for part 2 of this video. So stay tuned for part 2 of my earthbending video. So, peace!